Alan Kennedy, but they didn't know where he lived, so they went to gambling joints, pool halls, bowling alleys. They wound up having a very frustrating week, and they were actually unable to find him. They were packing their cars to go home when Vernon noticed a little girl eating an ice cream cone with obvious pleasure, and she tripped and it fell to the ground. And being a gallant soul, he gave her a nickel, and she came back with another cone, smiling, and he said, "Little girl, do you know a man named Alan Kennedy?" And the girl said, "Sure, mister, he lives up the road a block and a half." And that's how they found Kennedy and saw the center deal. And Vernon loved to tell the story when he was in his 80s. He'd always kind of lean back and say, "Yes, and a little child shall lead them." So, with that thought in mind, a demonstration of the deal. You can see what I'm doing may look odd in one sense because I'm putting the aces in the deck face up. Why am I doing that? Because it's a demonstration. If we were in a real poker game, obviously the aces would be face down, but this is a case where I want you to see me cheating. And what I'm going to do is give a little shuffle and then try to sense where those aces are as I deal them. There shouldn't be any directly near the top or near the bottom. Let's say we're playing four-handed. We'll make it five, a little more theatrical. I would be dealing out 5 hands, and I'd be trying to get the ace in my hand. Now, you could see there was no ace on the top. So in that split second, I choose not to take the top card and somehow dig below the deck to where I feel an ace. You see if I can do that one more time, and one more. And if I can, that would be false dealing. Well, as you George Bernard Shaw fans know, he said every profession is a conspiracy against the laity. Jeff, I want to thank you very much for helping. Larry, a nice hand for these fellows. Thanks so much. I should point out that it's actually very difficult to come up under the hot lights and make rational card-playing decisions. I thank you both very much indeed. In the course of that demonstration, I mentioned 2 people who had a profound influence on my life, Charlie Miller and Di Vernon. They both died just a couple of years ago. Charlie was 80, Vernon was 98. The reason that I moved to Los Angeles more than 20 years ago was to spend what I thought would be a few years with these men, and it turned out to be 2 decades. And not only did I have the great pleasure of watching them perform, they also would regale me with stories of the sleight of hand artists that they saw when they were younger. And I think the name that was mentioned more than any other was the name of Max Malini. Malini was born in Austria-Hungary in 1873. He immigrated to the United States, to New York, as a small boy and began to make his living. He showed great promise with sleight of hand by busking in the most notorious bars along the Bowery, literally passing a hat for nickels and dimes. And he got so good at this that he was ready to branch out. And in 1902, he went to Washington, D.C. He had no advanced bookings, but as luck would have it, the first day he was in the Capitol, he noticed Mark Hanna on the steps of Congress, very prominent senator of the day. There was much less security than there is now, and he literally ran up to Mark Hanna and suddenly swooped down and bit a button off his suit coat. And before people could grab him and take him away, he made one of those magical passes, and when the senator looked down, the button was now sewn back perfectly in place. So instead of being arrested as a lunatic, he received a lucrative engagement, and his career was made. But since this show is devoted to playing cards, I'm going to show you a concept that Malini invented around the turn of the century. And the idea here was that more than one person would take a card during the course of an effect. So I'm actually going to step into the audience. You don't have to join me on stage. And I'm going to ask a number of people to take cards. If for some reason you don't want to help, that's fine. If you do, that would be great. I'll ask the woman on the end. You don't have to get up, but if you just say stop at some point when I put these in front of you, and if you'd actually look at that card and try to remember it. I'm going to ask the gentleman next to you to remember it as well. Otherwise, I'd have an effect with no plot. So you will remember that card. And as a gentleman with a mustache, would you also say stop for me?
Stop.
Okay, and that's one for you. Good. And, well, you've done yeoman's work already, Larry. The woman sitting next to you, if you don't mind, would you say stop?
Stop.
Good. That's one for you. And if you'd help try to remember that. And perhaps this gentleman with the tie. Thank you.
Stop.
Good. One for you. And the gentleman on the aisle.
Stop.
This one or the next one?
The next one.
The next one, that's fine. So I've had a number of cards selected. I was just thinking that also a pleasure living in Southern California is I've gotten to know Ozzie Malini. This is Max Malini's son, who's now a retired businessman. And a while ago, he told me a story about his father that I'll share with you. It seems that many years ago, Malini was asked to perform for Governor Brown of the Philippines. And Governor Brown, knowing that Malini was Jewish, decided to play a joke on him. And at a very important dinner, he served him an enormous roast pig with an apple in its mouth. And Malini looked at this pig uncomfortably for some time. and then took out his table napkin and covered it. He paused for the requisite dramatic moment, whisked the napkin aside, the pig had completely vanished, and a cooked chicken was in its place. Fortunately for me, this show is devoted to playing cards, so I'm not obligated to conjure with poultry. Which means that I have to ask you to take a card. That's all I do in life. So would you be so kind as to just say stop at some point?
Stop.
Okay. And if you'd remember that, and the gentleman behind you would help, would you remember that card as well? And if I can ask this gentleman to also say stop for me?
Stop.
Okay. That's one for you. And the gentleman next to you, if I can get you to say stop? Stop. Good. Please remember that one, and you as well. Yes?
Stop.
Good. I think that's enough. Well, I shouldn't prejudice rows further back than the first. I see a gentleman with a tie in the second row. Can I also get you to say stop?
Stop.
Okay. And one for you. A firm stoppage, I might add. So I've had, I don't know, 11 or 12 cards selected. I'm going to shuffle the cards and try to find those cards again. Actually, I have to confess at this point during the show every evening, I wonder what it would be like if I didn't find those cards. Just a thought. So, the woman on the end, if I can get you to actually mention your card out loud. The 8 of hearts, I'm going to try to find it in mid-shuffle. That sounds odd, but look, one card has stopped halfway in the shuffle deck, and fortunately, at least for me, that is the 8 of hearts. Let's see, who took the next card? Would you be so kind?
7 of hearts.
The 7 of hearts. Good. Was yours possibly next? Would you mention it?
6 of spades.
6 of spades. I'm going to try to get the deck to sort of shoot out and cut itself right at your card, which is the 6 of spades. And yours, sir?
7 of diamonds.
The 7 of diamonds, from the 6 to the 7 of diamonds. And the gentleman on the end?
10 of spades.
The 10 of spades. I'm going to find the next card by means of a simple cut. And that is the ace of clubs, the card the woman on the aisle took. Your ace of clubs. Your card was... You're shaking your head no?
No.
Ace of clubs? What was it?
4 of diamonds.
If you insist. I'm looking for a little sympathy. You give me nothing. Play the chill for me. Icy. You took one, I believe. Would you be so kind as to mention it for me?
Jack of diamonds.
Jack of diamonds out of the deck into my hand as if propelled. Jack of diamonds. I'm going to try to find yours in the South American or karaoke fashion, if you'd be so kind as to name it.
Ace of hearts.
The ace of hearts. Let's see. Good. You haven't forgotten yours, I trust. What was that?
9 of clubs.
The 9 of clubs, the last card. Yeah, you didn't take one, did you? Were you? Oh, in the second row. What was yours, sir?
6 of diamonds.
6 of diamonds. Well, I'll have to find both of them. 9 of clubs, 6 of diamonds. Your 9 of clubs, your 6 of diamonds. How many of you are interested in astrology? Well, there's the rousing response I was hoping for. I read in the newspapers that 71% of Americans read their horoscope. How come none of them ever come to the theater? I just made that up. You occasionally look at your horoscope? I only claim to be 90% correct, madam. Can I induce you to help me for a brief moment? Thank you. You'd have to have a chair. What's your step, please? Thanks. And if you would sit over there for me. I have to confess, that's perfect, that even when I do astrological experiments, I also use playing cards. There's a surprise. So if you'd be kind enough to examine them for me, take a good look at them. And when you think they're okay, you can kind of spread them face down on the table. And please do that. And then slide out a card from the middle somewhere. That will be your card. Don't show it to me.